the content in order to document our topics for building staff capacity, let's look at a few simplified traditional PowerPoints provided by the Rome City Schools. In Rome City Schools, their family engagement coordinator, Ginger, conducted 3 in-person trainings aligning their content with the law. So in part for this presentation, they included slides providing ways in which the teachers can reach out to parents in order to bridge the gap. Also identifying some personal approaches, as well as looking at some virtual ways in which they can engage their families. And then lastly, they also stated some upcoming programs for the schools in order to build ties between parents and the school staff. So simple but yet straightforward information to create partnerships tied directly to the ESSA law. And these are just the first few slides they provided. So in their second example, again, just the first few slides here, Rome City placed emphasis on the importance of communication skills when conferencing with parents and family members. So clarifying questions and thoughts to consider were provided as tips to teachers to ignite dialogue and meaningful conversations. And then lastly, the impact of building positive relationships was introduced as their last primary method to building staff capacity. Posing the question, how do we engage our families, led to using the parent survey data to offer their suggestions. So that goes back to that with parents assistance. So key topics such as knowing the difference between parent involvement and family engagement and capitalizing on the fact that parents are in fact our greatest resource are noteworthy contributions. So PowerPoint slides are a great training tool to use to present and document your information. However, be intentional to ensure that your verbiage goes back to the ESSA law for building staff capacity. A lot of times we see some stuff for building parent capacity and some other things that's not really related. But again, making sure that you're tying everything back to the law. For our next power tip, we recommend taking a welcoming approach by creating guides, modeling scenarios, and exploring a family-friendly virtual tour. So we're going to head over to our very own Georgia Department of Education's website to check out our family-friendly partnership schools resources. So once you get to our home page, you can look down at the building capacity link, click it, and then go down to the graphic family-friendly partnership schools right here on the right. And then that's going to bring you to our Georgia Family Friendly Partnership School website. And there's a lot of great resources that you can use, and it's all centered around welcoming our families. For starters, we have a video here in the middle, which is on welcoming and the importance of family-friendly schools. And it's given from the perspective of our state school superintendent, Richard Woods, as well as a few faculty and school staff members and some community leaders. So a great opener to show to your staff. And if you look here on the right side, we have our handout section. A lot of great resources that you can download. We have the Welcoming Environments Overview PowerPoint, which you can customize and use with the assistance of your parents. We have some resources from our former Georgia Family Friendly Partnership School Award. So our booklet and our handout highlights some winners as well as our finalists. And the great thing about the resources that it highlights their best practices and some of their insights and how they created these award-winning environments. If we go down to the walkthrough exercise, which is really great, it allows for you to invite your members of your staff and your community and your parents to walk through the school together and evaluate your welcoming environment. Use the handout, check it, mark it, and then constantly go back to it to review your progress. The last resources here are our elementary and middle high scenarios where you can kind of read and share some of those scenarios, share some stories, and then brainstorm some possible solutions. And then if you scroll down, you get an idea of our virtual tour. So once you click that, that's going to bring up that virtual tour where you can save it on your desktop or save it anywhere on your computer, and then it pops up. It's important to note that you should have the Adobe Flash Player because there's a lot of different interactive components. So you want to use any Adobe Flash. I'm using version 10, but again, as long as you have it installed, you should be good to go. And then once it's up, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It's a very simple, self-guided process where you can go in there and you just kind of click, and then all kind of pop-up messages from our faculty members greeting you and giving you some pointers to create your family-friendly environment. So you can just click in here. There's some great tips that you can pull up as well. And if you go across the street, you'll get to the graduation middle high school, and it's the same process. Okay, so really great resources for you to use and for you to kind of model after to create a family friendly environment. We have had these resources on our website for quite a while, but it's good practice just to frequently go back and just look at your progress and look again at some intentional things that you can do in order to create these environments. Okay, so for our next power tip, we recommend creating some interactive training modules based on the results of your CNA within the Georgia Systems of Continuous Improvement. For this one, we'll look outside the state to the wonderful resources offered by the Family School Community Partnerships in New Mexico. As a part of our state leaders sharing network, New Mexico continues to demonstrate a proven record for building effective family school partnerships. And as displayed on the slide, if you look at the topics of their framework on the left and then their 6 focus areas on the right, it should really resonate with you because it's closely tied to our work here in Georgia with our systems of continuous improvement. Let's take a brief look at their focus areas again, also known as the National PTA Standards for Family School Partnerships. So each slide in their training module reflects their mission, their objectives, their goals, plan of action, and then resources and tools to support their work. For welcoming all families into the school community, as displayed on the left side, their 2 main goals are to create a welcoming environment and then build a respectful, inclusive school community. For communicating effectively, their goal is simply to share information between schools and their families. For supporting student success, they're focusing on sharing information about student progress and then support learning by engaging their families. Again, sharing information about student progress and empowering families to support not only their own, but also other children's success in school are the goals for speaking up for every child. For sharing leadership, their main goals are to strengthen the family's voice and share decision making, and then build upon the family's social and political connections. And lastly, collaborating with the community by connecting the school with community resources. So for each section, there are a wealth of resources and tools available for downloading. So let's briefly check out their Communicating Effectively Toolkit as an example. Okay, so for resources to support the framework for family school partnerships, each resource are designed for the following: reflection on practice, inclusion in school websites and newsletters, use with families and students, professional development, and then planning and implementing an action plan. So as we go down to our section, communicate effectively, first, a great place to start is with the reflection rubric for communicating effectively. So if I click the plus icon here, it is going to reveal the drop-down option to download the file. Okay, so here's the rubric, and the rubric is focused on the goal of sharing information between home and the school. And if you notice here, it's divided up in 3 sections: emerging, progressing, and excellent. So you and your staff can sit down together and look at your practices and look where you are as far as your level of communicating effectively with your families. As I prepare to close, I want to make sure everyone's aware of our resources currently available on our website. We have recently released our 2018-2019 edition of the Systemic Family Engagement Handbook. which we always get a lot of rave reviews, and everyone's really finding it very useful and helpful, especially when it comes to preparing for monitoring. And also for our purposes today, we have an entire section on building staff capacity. Also, on that note, in our handbook, we have our compliance tips for building staff capacity. So it's a really great idea. It's just to kind of help you not only meet the compliance requirements, but also exceed them as well. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions concerning today's content, please reach out to us. If you have any questions concerning any other family engagement activities, feel free to email us or call us at any time. We're here to support you in your work. And if you have any questions concerning Title I funding in your parent and family engagement program, please reach out to your Title I area specialist. So thank you again for watching, and now you have been powered up with your power tips.